Hey, listen to Wrestling Roundup on FreeFM 89.0. Sorry if I sound a little weird this week, recording at my home here in Hamilton. It's my birthday this week, so I've been travelling around and been to Sydney, come back to Hamilton, and sadly the timings didn't line up, and Josh isn't available this week to do the show because I had to shift times because of my birthday stuff, so it's going to be just me for the next half an hour talking to you about this week in Raw, Smackdown, what we've got for Elimination Chamber, what we've got for Fastlane, because those cards are starting to build themselves. So if we look at Raw here, Roman Reigns took on Bray Wyatt in an Elimination Chamber qualifying match, Roman Reigns coming out on top. It seems as though, at least to me, the feuds that they're setting up, either both people are going to be in the chamber, or neither people are going to be in the chamber. So we've seen so far Braun Strowman pop in. He's feuding with everybody. Let's not question him. But we've also got both Elias and John Cena in here. And then both Roman Reigns and The Miz. Whereas we've been able to keep out both Matt Hardy and Bray Wyatt. So I'm going to expect maybe a singles match between those two coming up. I know we've got a last chance qualifier as well. I'm trying to load up quickly who's going to be in that last chance qualifier. I'm pretty sure Apollo Crews is there, Bray Wyatt's there, Matt Hardy's there, and I think Finn Balor's there. So it'll be interesting to see who's going to come out on top of that. Sticking by my previous theory, that means that neither Matt Hardy nor Bray Wyatt are going to be in the match. And then it comes down to, will it be Finn or Apollo? I love Apollo, but I don't think he's just quite on this level just yet when you look at the other guys who are already in the match. So I'm going to put it down to Finn Balor winning here, and then he'll go sort of toe-to-toe with Braun. Sucks for Finn, and hope he isn't put 6 feet under. But the other four are already matched up in pairs of 2, so it's already a little caved out for them, and it's obvious that they're going to be standing against each other. First 2 in, I kind of want to see Braun in first, just to see him demolish everybody, but I also want to kind of see him jammed in a pod to see him break the pod. So, we'll see, but maybe Elias stays in a pod so he can sing with his guitar. Cena Reigns, maybe we could get a little bit of just them one-on-one for a little while. Or we'll go with like Miz and Reigns for the feud. We'll wait and see. We jump back the Cruiserweights. Cruiserweights are in an interesting position at the moment. According to the dirt sheets, we're seeing a little more Triple H involvement in 205 Live and a little less Vince involvement because of the XFL. And that's opening up a lot of possibilities here because we've already got this Cruiserweight tournament going on. With a couple of pop-ins from NXT, a couple of pop-ins from here and there, to figure out who's going to be the new Cruiserweight champion after the whole entire Enzo saga. And it looks like already 205 Live's taken a little bit of a turn. You know, we're getting more of this, more of what we got during the Cruiserweight Classic that everybody loved, and less of just another hour of SmackDown, but with the Cruiserweights. So I'm interested, and I'm going to hold on and wait and see what we get from these guys. I'm expecting big things now, especially when you're pulling in some of these NXT talents, even as just one-offs. You're putting in that spectacular, and there should be some damn good matches in this tournament. Having the finals at WrestleMania, hopefully, I'm fingers crossing and not on the pre-show. Please, guys, don't put them on the pre-show. The Cruiserweights deserve better than that. That's why I never walked out last time. But we'll wait and see in terms of who we're going to get, and who's even going to make it that far through the tournament. I have no idea. Looking at the bracket at the moment, just quite who's going to get there. Obviously, we know who's going to win the first round matchups, just because those have already happened for the most part. I think there's 2 of them have happened and 2 haven't. Yep. 4 have and 4 haven't. So we know that Cedric Alexander, Tj Perkins, Kalisto, and Roderick Strong are already through. And then coming up, we've still got Mark Andrews versus Akira Tozawa and Tony Nese versus Drew Gulak, as well as 2 unannounced matches. So it'll be interesting to see what happens there. I'm guessing Roderick Strong isn't going to stick around. The only reason that he won his first round matchup was that it was against Hideo Itami, who was meant to show up on 205 Live and then sort of faded away a little bit and came back, and I'm not quite sure we're committing to Hideo on 205 just yet. But with Roderick Strong going up against Kalisto, I'm going to put my money there on Kalisto walking away. With the win and Cedric Alexander versus Tj Perkins, I put my money on Cedric there unless TJ pulls off a little non-legal stuff there to make it the good guy versus the bad guy when he goes up against Kalisto. But we saw a lot already in the first round matchups and a lot in the Cruiserweight Classic where we don't mind going good guy versus good guy and bad guy versus bad guy. And we're more open and flexible to having storylines going on without definite alignments. You know, there's not one guy to cheer for and one guy to hate. In terms of who's going to be in the rest of the matches, I'm seeing people like Jack Gallagher that's not featured here. I expect him to pop in maybe. Maybe they pull a surprise on us and pop someone in for those last two shows and really confuse everybody and put a bit of a wrench in the system. When we're looking over towards the tag team division, the Revival still taking on the Club. I don't think the Revival are going to find a third man just yet to take on the Club with Finn Balor. Obviously, if Finn makes his way into the Elimination Chamber, then that's one less person for them to deal with. Maybe they'll get a 2-on-2 with a stipulation at the Chamber pay-per-view, but it seems as though that's the feud that they're building. To put it into reference, the Elimination Chamber is February 25th, which is 2 weeks away. 2 weeks of Raw, 2 weeks of Smackdown, 2 weeks of the show, and then that's when it'll happen. So we can stretch out a lot of these feuds and go that little bit more, which would definitely seem to be trying to do day in and day out, looking at this stuff where if they don't quite have enough stretch to get there, we'll just keep them off television a little bit. Still in that tag team division, the former champs, Seth and Jason Jordan. Seth now has moved on to teaming with Roman Reigns. I'm going to assume this is a one-off. I don't expect him to stay down here, especially being involved in that Elimination Chamber match. But it did bring up the worst fears possible for me and Josh in that Seth took on the Bar again for the 15th bajillionth time. But it seems as though Jason Jordan, after undergoing neck surgery, is still going to be sticking around. It doesn't look like he's leaving for good. So we'll have to wait and see. I know somebody on the internet proposed that he should be like deputy general manager to Kurt Angle. Just having some sort of on-screen role without being an active wrestler, because when you're recovering from a neck surgery, you want to be recovering. But you can give him a little bit of an authority role like that to just keep him in there. It seems as though Seth versus Jason Jordan is going to be the feud once he gets back. We just have to wait until that moment and that he can come back and be all good to wrestle. Because you don't want to bring him back early. I'm seeing here now that when it was Braun versus Cena versus Elias, I completely forgot about this match. The winner enters the Elimination Chamber last. Elias won, so we are actually going to see the Elias concert for a whole bunch of that match. Now, if we're jumping into the women's division, we got 3 matches, I think, in the women's division. We got Asuka versus Bayley, Micky James versus Sonya Deville, and Nia Jax versus a local competitor. But we did also get the big announcements of who was going to be in the Elimination Chamber match for the Raw Women's Championship up against Alexa Bliss. We're going to be getting Bayley. A little confusing considering that Bayley hasn't done all too much recently, isn't featured that often, but seems to still be a solid fan favorite, so we throw her in there. Mandy Rose I'm interested in. I liked their mixed match challenge pairing of her and Goldust. I'm kind of hoping we actually keep that around a little bit. Maybe bring in Goldust as her manager. We don't have very many male managers managing females, so I think popping in Goldie as her manager, or even a mixed tag partner that sticks around so they're sort of equals and come out to each other's matches. I like that aspect to it. And I want to see what we could do with them. I think Absolution with Paige obviously succumbing to injury could be dissolving very quickly, so I think having a backup plan with Goldust and having something else that you can go to with Mandy Rose is probably the best way to do it. We've also got Micky James, the complete opposite of these recent NXT call-ups, veteran in the ring. Also haven't been doing all too much with lately, but we'll wait and see what happens with her in the chamber. I'm going to assume that she'll be fodder. We also got Sonya Deville, the other member of Absolution that isn't injured. And last up, Sasha Banks, the only person in this match that has a perceivable chance to take the title off of Alexa Bliss. I don't quite know what's happening in this division at the moment. It's a very confusing one. We've also got another match announced, which was Asuka versus Nia Jax. If Nia wins, then she will be added to the Raw Women's Championship match at WrestleMania 34. Don't even know if Asuka's picking the Raw Championship. Kind of confusing, because we got Ronda Rousey floating about, but we've also got Asuka who has to pick a champion. Nia Jax may get herself inserted into the Raw match. Alexa Bliss may lose her title to Sasha Banks beforehand. Charlotte may... Nah, she probably won't lose her title. Charlotte will probably retain hers, could go up against Asuka, could go up against Rousey. I don't quite know what's going to happen here. I do wonder if Rousey's going to get put into a multi-woman match to maybe cover up what we got. So if it's Asuka, Nia, Sasha, and Rousey, something like that. Or if we're going to go with the straight-up Charlotte versus Rousey, which seemed to be what everybody was expecting beforehand, before all of this chamber nonsense and everything. So maybe we'll get Asuka versus Sasha with the title, maybe Nia floating in there if she wins this match, and then we'll get Charlotte versus Rousey one-on-one. That seems to be the timeline that everybody's expecting to pop up. Doesn't mean it will be the one that actually pops up, but I do think that you can count out the other four competitors in the chamber. I think it will be Bliss or Banks that walks out with the championship. I wouldn't be disappointed in either way. It would mean that Sasha holds on to the title for a little more than a week. So that's always going to be a positive there. But it does mean that Asuka will probably take it off her unless maybe Rousey's involved in the match, or if Nia is there, there's always a possibility. But I think Asuka is lining herself up to be a champion, whoever she goes after, probably the Raw Championship. Quick skim that I haven't missed anything else on Raw. It seems as though everything is building towards the Chamber at the moment. So we had the Chamber qualification matches, we had the women's announcement of who's going to be in those, and then we also had a little bit of tag team scene turmoil. But personally, I'm definitely looking forward to seeing Elias sing his way through the entire Chamber as he enters last. Which opens up a whole lot of possibilities on maybe a match next week to see if the loser enters first, maybe. But we'll have to wait and see for that. For now, we're going to be going into our entrance theme of the week. Do people remember when we do two entrance themes? We used to do a classic theme and a current theme. Nowadays, we barely have time to play 2 minutes of a theme. We have to squish it on in. So despite the fact that he couldn't be here because of my messing about with the times, he did pick a theme that we were going to play. He picked Jonathan Coachman's theme. Is now on Raw, so we'll have to wait and see how that's going to play out. Seems like there might be something going on between Booker T and Corey Graves here. We'll see, but for now, Jonathan Coachman's theme. And you're back with Wrestling Roundup. FreeFM 89.0. Grady. I was just about to say and Josh. It's so ingrained in my head to say and Josh there. But it's just Grady this week because of times and shiftings and my birthdays and everything. But we're going to be talking about Smackdown now. Sami Zayn, Kevin Owens. That's the big one. We have not decided quite yet. Are they friends? Do they hate each other? We don't quite know. And we got a little bit of showing here on potentially what could be their future. Spoilers, it's not very good. And the match officially at Fastlane will be AJ Styles versus Kevin Owens versus Sami Zayn in a triple threat. But then Shane McMahon decided that that wasn't cool for some reason, because Shane McMahon is such a power-hungry, maniacal man, and decided that next week we're going to see Baron Corbin take on Dolph Ziggler with the winner making it a fatal four-way match. Confusing, and I don't quite understand it. Still expect AJ Styles to retain just because Shinsuke Nakamura is on the horizon with his Royal Rumble win coming after the champion, and that's the best match out of those 5 men that could potentially be there. Fastlane being on March 11th, so that's 4 weeks away. Plenty of time left to build for it, plenty of time left to change up matches, change up participants, and play around with it. Breezango, The Ascension, they're still being amazing people. Space-Time Continuum, other stuff. I think Fashion Files at this point has just blown off so much more than being like a CSI ripoff or whatever, and has just become its own thing. I would love to watch them from start to finish. It's just evolved so much, and I quite love how much it's evolved, so I'm going to cross my fingers that it keeps continuing and keeps just sort of exploding in this way that it has, because it's great. Love it. And the Ascension actually got to have a match as well, which is unusual for them. Normally we'll just be featured in the funny segments and then roll on, but they got a match with Chad Gable and Shelton Benjamin. I don't know if I have to mention the match outcome. I think it's a little obvious, but the Ascension did not pick up the win. It's probably been a while since the Ascension have picked up the win. I can't think of one off the top of my head on the last time, at least, I guess, on television. I'm not going to count if they win some random house show. I'm trying my best here to find a win. Control F, win? Is that going to help? Oh, it's a while ago. Control F, win isn't working here. But yeah, well, it's been a very, very long time since the Ascension have come up with a good old win after, they were pretty dominant in NXT. And then they come out and stuff happens, I guess, and kind of screws them over from being this dominant team that they used to be. And it was a little sad to see, but if they're finding their niche here with Breezango and having a bit of fun, that's such an easier pill to swallow than if they were just trying to be taken as serious and losing all the time. There's a definite difference. I'd like to point out in my search for a win here, I am actually in 2015 and still have not found one. But I've probably missed some in between. Oh yeah, there's definitely some that I've missed. Sorry, I was looking in the wrong way. But yeah, we'll wait and see what's going to happen in the future for the Ascension. And as I said, if they stick around with Breezango, I'm quite happy with that. And not going to be too miffed just yet. SmackDown has its top 10 list. And now I still don't quite understand how much of this top 10 list is storyline and how much of this top 10 list is actual locker room vote. But by the people who are in it, I'm not quite sure. But yeah, we got number 10, Ty Dillinger. Kind of expected just because, number 10 is his number. That makes me think more storyline-wise. Number 10, Randy Orton. Hasn't done too much lately, but is still quite a big talent. Number 8, Becky Lynch. If it wasn't storyline, I'd kind of expect her to be a little higher up. Number 7, the Usos. They are the tag champions. Theoretically should be the highest listed tag team, but number 6, the New Day, is ahead of them. Yeah, go explain that. Number 5, Bobby Roode, the United States champion. As expected, maybe even a little bit higher. Number 4, Naomi. A little confusing with her being so high up on the list, but I guess they're trying to line it up in a nice way. Number 3, Shinsuke Nakamura. Won the Royal Rumble, makes sense to be up that high in the list. Number 2, Charlotte Flair, top woman on the roster at the moment for Smackdown because she is the champion and that's how the divisions work. And then number 1, gotta be the most obvious choice here of 1, AJ Styles, the WWE champion. So I don't know what this list is going to be doing. There's a severe lack of Kevin and Sammy and a couple other people, so I wouldn't be too sure, I guess, about the list just yet. I'll hold off on it. If it's on pure strength, then the Bludgeon Brothers should be a hell of a lot higher up on that list, because goddamn, the Bludgeon Brothers look awesome. Crossing my fingers we're seeing plenty more good things from these guys to come. Then we also have Bobby Roode, Rusev for the United States Championship. Rusev earned this opportunity, I'd like to point out. And then he got screwed out of this opportunity because a big bad man decided to come down and ruin his fun on Rusev Day. Randy Orton decides, no, I don't care that you've just lost this United States Championship match. I'm going to come down and attack both of you. And Aiden English. Let's just attack everybody. Now, Randy Orton had a very, very long feud with Rusev, and I'm not saying I want to see that feud again. I would be interested in seeing the Randy Orton-Bobby Roode feud that it seems like that may set up. I'm also good with the Fatal 4-Way if we put Aiden English in there and call it a 4-way. So I'm quite fine with a lot of the possibilities we've got here, as long as we're going to stay away from Randy Orton versus Rusev one-on-one. That's the only thing that I really hope we don't get to see. Again, just quite yet. I think it's still a little too soon from last time when we got it all. So, crossing my fingers a little bit. But yeah, it's at least something. Rusev and Aiden English floated around in the tag team division a little while, and we still don't know quite yet what's going to be happening in that Smackdown tag team division. But the Bludgeon Brothers are looming. Don't really want to mess with the Bludgeon Brothers. The Usos still champs. Don't know how much longer they're going to be holding on to those titles. But it's a little murky at the moment in that division, so giving Rusev this and his mixed match challenge partner with Lana as well gives you a little bit of something to do. So we're going to jump into the mixed match challenge this week. We saw Goldust and Mandy Rose take on Naomi and Jimmy Uso. And the first win for a SmackDown tag team as Jimmy Uso and Naomi move forward by pinfall after 10 minutes and 14 seconds. As I said, I hoped Goldust and Mandy Rose stuck together. Daniel Bryan was the special guest referee after a poll, but we'll have to see. Next week we get Elias and Bayley taking on Rusev and Lana. I've crossed my fingers for a Rusev and Lana here, so hopefully we get to see that happen. And then the week after that will be Apollo Crews and Nia Jax taking on Bobby Roode and Charlotte Flair. I expect to see a Bobby Roode Charlotte Flair there, maybe a reverse sweep for Raw, you know. Oh, so for SmackDown, sorry. First 3 go to Raw, second 3 go to SmackDown. Rightio, well, we've got a little bit left, and then the quarterfinals, Finn Balor, Sasha Banks taking on Miz and Asuka. See that expecting to go to Miz and Asuka. Braun and Alexa taking on Jimmy Uso and Naomi. Expect that to go Braun and Alexa. Eventually, I expect the finals to be Braun Strowman and Alexa taking on Bobby Roode and Charlotte Flair. That's my expected finals, with Braun and Alexa picking up the win. Radio, well, that's all we got time for this week. It's been great talking to you guys. Normally I'd say that to Josh, and he'd say, bye-bye. And then I would talk to you about our Facebook and Twitter pages at facebook.com/WrestlingRradio and twitter.com/WrestlingRradio. And we'll see you next week with 600% more Josh, hopefully, as long as nothing just rustles our jimmies like it did this time. See you guys next week. When we step in the place and you can feel the raw excitement from the look on their face. It's like the prize right in front of my eyes. And taking the sky's the limit, got no time.